It's hot, y'all. Summertime fishing is finally really here, like the real summertime fishing. We've been having like springtime weather lingering around all spring. It was like it was basically March all the way up until about 3 weeks ago, but we're finally getting that true spring, I'm sorry, not spring, true summertime weather. Some non-traditional baits that I like to use for flipping, especially during the summertime. And these will work just about any time of the year, but mainly non-traditional. What I mean by non-traditional, most of the time when we're flipping any type of structure, you know, flipping and pitching. When I say flipping and pitching, making a little bitty short roll cast, and technically it's called pitching. Most of the time it's like one or two things. It's a crawl, some type of maybe tube or creature, like a creature style bait, a beaver style bait, or it's a jig. There's other baits that I use to catch fish with flipping, and I'm gonna show you about right here, tell you about. I guess I'm showing you about them. But anyway, that's what we're gonna do right now. If it's important to me, it's probably in my boat. All beaver stuff, swim baits. I got the three baits that I want to show you here. Let me set my camera down. So basically I have really three that I keep in high rotation when it comes to non-traditional flipping baits, and all of these except for one I pretty much just flip with a Texas rig. Most of the time when we're talking about just flipping is primarily just a Texas rig, right? So I'm gonna take like a 7.2 to 7.5, 7.6 medium heavy to heavy power rod. Usually it's gonna be my like the favorite Pro Series. 7.3 heavy, be the perfect rod for this. 7.5 to 1 gear ratio reel. 15 to 20 pound test line is what we're probably gonna use for these setups, right? Well, just a disclaimer before I even start talking to you about these baits, none of them have any good action. Usually we'll put it down in the water and watch it like quiver or do whatever it does and say, oh man, that looks really good in the water. First one I use a lot is just a good old 6-inch straight tail worm. This is just a Z-Man 6-inch finesse worms. I'll just throw that. Well, there's two ways I throw it. This is the only one that I'll use more than just on a Texas rig. It's gonna be like a light sinker, probably 3/16, even an 1/8 ounce sinker sometime. Because let me tell you, like they get off of that heavy big stuff occasionally. I'll use a 4/0 straight shank hook, 12, 15 pound test line, 1/8 ounce sinker, probably no heavier than like a 3/16, maybe a quarter if I'm feeling froggy, all right? I'll use maybe a quarter. But this is a bait that I've caught like a lot of fish on. Not necessarily just this color. This was the first color I grabbed out of my box. But just a 6-inch finesse worms straight tail. Now you're looking at it, you probably think, well, it doesn't even do anything. Why would I flip that? Well, that's just it. That's the whole reason you want to throw it. Especially in the summer and fall. This is why I'm doing this video right now. The summer and especially in the fall, fish get weird. And they don't want a lot of all of this dancing, and you don't have to really try to get their attention. They really don't want to be bothered. They want to just stay, they just want to not be bothered most of the time. Straight tail, you know, everybody's been flipping a jig, everybody's been flipping creature bait and brush hogs and palmetto bugs, and all this stuff is jiggling and jiving in front of the face doing the James Brown, and then you come in here with snake to Jake, or Jake to snake, and it just subtly just falls down into his house. And I think that's the reason they bite it so good. I fished it quite a bit in the opens last fall. I cashed 2 checks just flipping a trick worm around. So this is one that definitely works. Straight tail, 6-inch worm, 3/16, 1/8 ounce sinker. It's kind of hard. You got to downsize your line because the bait's so small and it's going to be light. You got to downsize a little bit so you can get the bait to do what you want to do. Remember what the last video I talked about yesterday when we was talking about line size? You can't use this with 20 pound test line. It has nothing to do with the fish seeing the line or anything like that. You can't even flip it because it's so light that when you flip it, that line's gonna wanna come off really fast. Use 12, no bigger than 15 when you wanna flip a little small bait like this. So in addition to just flipping this on a Texas rig, I will like throw this on a drop shot. As a matter of fact, I was using the finesse worms at Chickamauga. If you watch the tournament vlog there, you notice I started with a stick bait in the morning. The fish moved out deeper on some of the deeper grass lines later in the afternoon, and I actually started throwing this guy on a drop shot. Works really good on a drop shot. Looks very unassuming, kind of big and clunky for a drop shot, but it works, buddy. It really does work. We'll come in here number 2. I'm gonna really mess y'all up with this one. Ugh, look at that. I can't even get him in the screen. Definitely a non-traditional flipping style bait right there. Non-traditional for majority of the world anyway. So I already know I'm probably messing somebody up when I show this guy right here. Like, you don't even see curl-tail worms hardly anymore. A lot of manufacturers don't even make them because it's a little bit of a niche bait. This is straight up 90s right here, 80s and 90s when you start talking about just a good old, who remembers an old U-tail? 6-inch U-tail? We caught so many fish on them things. Cotton candy 6-inch U-tail. Well, that's pretty much what this is, but it's just on steroids. I gotta get the camera. Let me zoom out. Zoom out so you can see this thing as far as I can go. I can't even get it all in the camera here. Let me see. Can you see it now? It's big. 10-inch worm. 10 or 12-inch. I flip a 12-inch sometimes, especially like in August, July, August. They eat that thing, man. They eat a 12-inch worm, flipping it around docks and laydowns, and because they don't see it very often. It's very subtle. When you flip a worm, you can swim it over the limbs and stuff. It's very subtle. It just kind of cascades over the limbs and everything. It just doesn't have that really abrasive, aggressive action. It's very subtle. So for this guy right here, the 10-inch worm, I'm probably gonna flip it around laydowns. I'm gonna fish it around docks. I'll even cast it around the corners, bridge riprap corners. Anywhere that's probably 4 or 5 foot or less and has stained water, I'll use this big 10-inch worm. And my setup on this guy is probably gonna be 7.5, 7.6, like a bigger rod, 20-pound test fluorocarbon, 3/16 to maybe a 5/16 ounce weight. Probably never lighter than 3/16. 3/16 is probably the one I'm going to use the most, because this is all about finesse. Even though that's a 10-inch worm, the way you're fishing this is actually a finesse style of fishing. But even though I've got big line, got a bigger rod, this style of fishing is kind of a finesse style of fishing, because if you see this in the water with a lighter weight, it's very, I don't know the word to use. Let's say mesmerizing. Like, it's very gentle in the water. Almost looks, have you ever seen a jellyfish go through? This is kind of what it reminds me of. It's just it cascades through the water column like very gently. That's a good bait to use, especially in the summertime. But in particular, obviously you see people throw it on ledges and a lot of offshore style fishing, but it's really, really good to flip around shallow wood in the summer. I got one more that is kind of slowly becoming my favorite. This is the bang sticks right here. Z-Man bang sticks. Now I remember, like, when I've always been a fan of fishing shallow wood. That's probably my strength, is like shallow target oriented fishing. This color right here is called sprayed grass. It looks really good, doesn't it? It's purple, like watermelon purple on one side, and that gooey green luscious money look. Anyway, the bang sticks. This guy right here is almost 6 inches, 5.75 I think is what this is. Yeah, 5 3/4 inches long. But oh, we designed this bait to be a Nico style bait, but it's probably one of the best flipping baits that we have at Z-Man. So I'll throw this guy again, non-traditional style bait for flipping. Doesn't have a lot of action. You see it's got these little tentacles on the tail. Basically, this is a giant hula stick. If you're familiar with the hula stick in our Ned rig lineup, this is a giant hula stick is what it is. Almost 6 inches long. 3/16 ounce sinker. 4 or 5 aught straight shank hook. 12 to maybe 15 or 17 pound test line. Flip it around. I've caught them around lily pads. I've caught them in Okeechobee, flipping it like in the Kissimmee grass or gator grass, whatever they call it. I just caught them at Chickamauga a couple weeks ago on it. But it was designed to be a Nico style bait where you hook it basically in the middle and put a weight on one end. It was designed for that. But in my opinion, it's a much better flipping bait. So that's what I've been using this guy for. Works really good, very subtle action. So don't sleep on, I know a lot of people are already flipping like stick bait style lures. And I didn't get on that train for a long time because it never made sense to me because stick baits never have any action. You know, you just flop them in, blop, they just hit the bottom. But dude, they work. You got something that's just a little bit different with the bank sticks because it has something on the back that I don't even know if that makes a difference or not. I do think it makes it have like a little bit different fall rate possibly, but that was a go. I'm telling you, the bang sticks is a good bait. It's a really, really good flipping bait. I promise you, really good flipping bait. These are my 3 top baits for flipping. Honestly, like I start here now. I don't even really, a creature is probably second in command to me now because I know I'm going to get bit on this, and the name of my game is always getting bit. What's the non-traditional flipping baits that you like to use in the summertime? Share them with me. Share them with everybody in the comment section on this video.
Hello, guys.
What are you doing? That's not helping me.